Hello and welcome. My name is Jody Lynn Craven, founder of Abundance Consciousness. And I think that Heather Marie just dropped off, but she'll be coming back. Welcome to Channel Squared. Heather Marie is the founder of Soulgate. And here at Channel Squared, we have extraordinary channeled conversations about everyday life topics. So every week, we choose a topic, connect with you, the divine, and our guides, and channel with you here live. And today is no different. Today, we are talking all about human design. Have you ever wondered why you are the way you are? Why some things are so easy and others feel like this deep, deep struggle, like you're forcing yourself to do something? On the journey of ascension comes the study of oneself and understanding yourself at the deepest levels. This is where human design shines. Joining us this week, we have human design coach, Alegria Tassi. Hopefully I said that correctly. She is a business, abundance, and human design coach for coaches and consultants who want to experience greater flow, ease, and magnetism in their business and receive more abundance. Yay! Welcome to the show, Alegria.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you both for having me. I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm not at home and I'm in a hotel. So if you hear any noise, that's why. But yeah, I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited to share human design with all of you. And thank you for having me. I'm so thrilled for this.
We're excited to have you. And Heather, you're back in. You got kicked out there for a second.
I know. I was actually a little bit worried that we were going to lose the live feed and everything, but it appears to still be rolling. I don't have it rolling side by side here. So if we've got questions, I'm going to have to log in another way. So give me a moment to get that sorted. And you guys go ahead and start chit-chatting. This is such an awesome conversation. I know.
Yes, such a beautiful conversation. Okay, let's start with the basics. Alegria, what is human design and why is it important?
Sorry for that. Okay, so human design is a system. It's basically this big, deep, really deep system for self-knowledge, right? It's a system that allows you to, the way that I see it is kind of see your potential so clearly, because it gives you this map. It is a map of not only like who you are, but who you're meant to be, who you're put here in this world to be as a beautiful human being with your biggest potential and expressing that potential. So I always give this example to my clients. Like, for example, Jodeline, you have blue eyes, right? So it is the way that you particularly express all the possibilities of all the color of eyes that you could have. You have blue eyes, right? That is the way that you express that. But there, you could be like you could have all sorts of different colors, but you have blue. So in the same way, we have energetically that same experience. We have certain traits and certain aspects to ourselves that are unique. And that set us apart from everyone else in the world. So the way that human design works is that it can show you, here's how you work, here's how you express these divine, beautiful attributes in this way, and how you can use that to see like how you operate best in the world and in business, particularly because I use human design for business a lot. So that's why I focus so much in business. But you can use human design for everything in your life, for your health, your relationships, or even business relationships like partnerships. But it is basically this beautiful system that allows you to know yourself. And when you have that knowledge, that power of knowing who you are and who you are meant to be, then you can say, oh, here I'm not expressing my potential the way that I could, or this is why I act this way, and this is why I feel this way when I'm with certain people or when I'm in certain environments. And this is the strategies that work best for me in my business, or this is the strategies that maybe like I've heard a lot and people always tell me that I should be following, but are not actually aligned with me and how my energy works. So that is the power of human design.
Wow.
In a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah. Heather, did you have a question?
Well, yeah, I think that's super interesting how you had just said that, human design can even be used for health. I know that, Jody Lynn and I have discussed previously on other episodes and things about how we are working on our family and building our family. And so we're both sort of on this health journey to achieve having a family. And so I'm very much looking forward to my next session with you so we can discuss that. What if somebody were going to look at their health through their human design, what might you see as an expert of human design, areas that they can look at?
So there's two centers. So when you look at your human design chart, I imagine the people watching this have seen their chart, or
If
you
not,
can download
just
it.
to pause you for 1 second. If
Yeah.
not, you can go to, I believe it's My Body Graph. Heather, that one has a ton of information, but it does get quite complex, but you can start to learn more information and then, go to Alegria if you want to know more, but continue.
Yeah, so you can get your human design chart in the internet. Basically, you just have to go human design chart and you will find a bunch of websites. I like My Body Graph because it allows you to save your chart and have other people's charts as well. So I have like my team's charts and clients, because I do work with their charts, but you could have your family members or whoever you would want. But when you see your chart, the first thing that calls your attention are these little like squares and triangles. Those are what human design calls energy centers, right? So it's similar to the 7 chakras, right? But instead of being 7, these are 9 chakras or 9 energy centers. And they work a bit differently than the chakras. But the first two specific centers that I would look at is the sacral center. So is this person what we call in human design an energy being or not, right? So if your sacral center, which is the second square, if you go from the top bottom up, it would be the second square, right? So if that is colored and you are an energy being or a generator, right? And that means that you have consistent energy to support like whatever goals you have or projects or everyday tasks, right? You have consistent energy, and it doesn't mean that you have to work all day. It just means that you can use that energy, and that energy will kind of self-generate when you are doing things that you love. On the other hand, if you don't have that center colored in, you have that center undefined or open, you basically don't, it's not that you don't have energy, it's that your energy, your life force energy is not consistent. So there will be moments when you have it and moments when you don't. So when you think about your health, and even in your business, like your health in your business, if you have that center open, first, you don't have consistent energy, but you also are amplifying other people's energy. So that could be tricky because you could be kind of like overriding your energy, and it could be very likely that you are amplifying other people's energy, but in a way that is not sustainable for you, right? So that could be a piece that is very important for you to look at in terms of your health. Are you using your energy in a way that actually is sustainable?
Wow, that's so interesting. That's so interesting because, it's funny, while you were talking, I pulled up my human design chart. And I'm like, should I show this so that people know what she's talking about? But I have that open sacral center, and Jody, yours is defined, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yin and yang. So
Yep.
one of the things that I thought was really interesting when we were doing our session together was how true everything rang for me. Like as you were speaking, I was like, oh my God, yeah, that's totally me. Oh my gosh, there it is again. That's totally me. And it's funny, it's the first real time that I have worked with somebody where I felt really seen. So, you know, I have a astrologer and numerologist that I have like practically on speed dial. I see her every month. Like she's been my most trusted advisor. And so everything that she brings me in the way of information, she brings to me through, you know, the stars and the numbers and what is happening in my chart. And I know that there is kind of like a portion of this that relates to astrology, in the sense of like, you know, your sun and your moon and, you know, where the planets are and things like that, and how that relates to human design. Can you speak, Alegria, to how that actually, like, what is that? Like, what is that astrological piece in this?
Yep. Yes, of course. So human design uses your date of birth as well. And your chart is basically like this screenshot of how the energy from the different planets impacts you, right? Resulting in a particular blueprint, energetic blueprint. So we have what in human design are called, well, not just in human design, but in quantum physics are called neutrinos. These are like small little particles that are constantly moving, and basically like they carry this energy from planets that then moves through you, expressing your energetic blueprint from that day, from the planets that were active that day. Does that make sense? So that's kind of how human design and astrology connect. And also when you look at your chart, you have like the planetary placements in both sides, right? So one side is going to be what you're more aware of, and the other side is going to be what you're less aware of. But I have found that this is what I was telling like Jody Lynn when we did our reading, was that when I find anyone who's been in the personal development world for a bit, they tend to be more aware of those aspects of themselves. But for example, you can see like your Mercury. This is going to be the place where you, like the gate in that planetary placement is going to be the way that you most effectively can express yourself in order to convey your message, or even your message. It depends on kind of what gate is active in that planet or next to that planet, but it's going to give you a lot of insight around your communication and either how you best communicate or what message you're here to bring to the world. So there is a link to astrology as well, in terms of how each gate, for example, has a different zodiac sign associated to it as well. So we can go deeper into human design and look at, okay, so gate, I don't know, this gate 7, which is a gate that I have, is also related to Leo. So for example, you have, this is a bit more in depth, but your sun gate, the conscious sun in your human design chart, which is going to be the first, like in the right hand side of your chart, the first number that you see, that is your sun gate, and that is a big part of your personality and a big part of your chart. So mine is in gate 7, which is a Leo gate, and when I look at my sun sign, I'm a Leo. So you're going to have those connections throughout your chart and your astrological chart. Yeah.
Wow. So interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah. Now I'm thinking about it like, my sun is Cancer and my moon is Cancer, I think. And there's a bunch of Cancer, Cancer, Cancer in there. And I'm so curious.
I know those are definitely going to be some follow-up questions that I have, because in my astrological chart, I'm a Cap sun, Cap moon, and Cap rising, and Jody is a Cancer sun, moon, and rising. And so it's, and I have a lot of Capricorn in my astrological chart, like peppered in everywhere. So we'll definitely have to talk more about that the next time we are together. But
Yeah.
so when you were looking at like the two of our charts, and I know we're kind of springing this on you, we probably should have given you a little bit of time to prepare for this, but because we have we're literally opposites on the zodiac, me and Jody Lynn, and so we're kind of like the yin and yang of the zodiac. And so were there things that you saw in our charts that that were like similar or even opposing, or how we work so well together? Because that's one of the things that we've definitely talked about, is how we're able to really balance one another. And I think it's so fascinating that we're like best friends and we are on those opposite ends of the zodiac. And so I'm just wondering, like, did our human design kind of lean to this also?
Yeah. So first of all, I think we should like take a step back and explain like the basics of human design, which is the human design types, right?
Yes.
Because Heather, you're a projector, and Jodeline, you are a generator. So human design kind of breaks down people into 5 different, and when you look at that, you will find that you can have either energy types, right, which will be like generators, manifesting generator, which is a subtype of the generators, but it's basically someone who's here to bring their life force energy into the world, to create projects, businesses, give their energy to getting things done and bringing things to life, right? The everyday building side of things. Then we have also the manifestors, who are here to kind of bring new ideas into the world. It's not that we don't have new ideas, like other types can have new ideas, but they are here to bring new concepts, new projects. They're here to start, to get things started. So it's kind of like the person who can start a whole new movement, but then there's other people who are taking care of that movement or that project or that business every single day to bring it to life. Then we have the projectors, which is you, Heather, who's someone who has this very deep ability to see someone, to understand people, to understand others, to understand groups of people. And it's very focused on others. And it's very focused on understanding what will make other people's lives easier, more effective, more effective in allowing them to flow even better, because they can see what is working and what's not working in your business or in your health or in whatever area you focus on. But those are projectors, and projectors don't necessarily have the energy, which is you, Heather, the consistent energy to build things. They're more here to direct and to use their insight to give you guidance, not necessarily to do the work, right? It's not that they can't work, it's that they're not here to do the hard work, right? And then we have reflectors, who are the smallest percentage of the population. These are like 8%, no, sorry, like 1% of the population. Manifestors are 8%. But reflectors are here to reflect, right? To reflect other people and to be this beautiful mirror of who you are. And whenever you're with a reflector, you will find that it's very easy for you to be transparent. You will find yourself telling them a lot of how you feel and what you think, and things that you might have not shared with anyone else. Not necessarily because it's a secret, but it's something that is kind of, they hold this space where you can discover who you are, right? Where you can discover the deepest aspects of yourself. And they do this with just by being who they are, just by being, right? So back to your question, you guys complement each other first by your types, right? Because you are Jodeling, you are a generator, so you bring the energy, like the building energy, into whatever project you have together. And Heather, you will bring like the insight and the kind of the direction of, oh, look, we could do this thing to be more effective here, or we can tweak this to create more energy, or to make things better in some way, right? And then you also, when I was looking at your charts, I noticed you two had some gates that were similar. So whenever you have the same gate with someone, it's you create this kind of spark of attraction, right? You create this, yeah, this kind of, oh, I can relate to this person. I have a similar experience as this person. Like friendships are created with people who have similar gates than you do, or similar channels in some cases. But from the top of my head, I remember you two had gate 26, which is all about selling. So it's very easy for you to sell things, and to kind of present an idea, a product, in a way that makes things feel more attractive. Yeah.
So interesting. Question for you. You said that 1% are reflectors and 8% are manifesting generators. And there was two others, projectors and just generators. So what is the percentage on those two? Okay.
So 8% is, these percentages are kind of rough numbers, right? So it's not like set in stone. But 8% of population are supposed to be manifestors, right? People who are here to create new things and to start things, right? Then we have generators, which are generators, and manifesting generators are about like 70% of the world.
Wow.
These are the majority of the world. Then we have projectors, who are about 20%. And then we have reflectors, which are 1%.
Wow. And
That's
nobody
amazing.
has the same chart, like out of the billions of people on Earth, no one would have the exact same chart. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Because I always give this image of human design being like a puzzle, right? So let's say you can have the same human design type, right? Like you guys could both be projectors or generators, but then you will have different centers, defined or undefined. You will have different authorities, which is the way that you are meant to make decisions. You could have different profiles, which is more related to your personality and how you kind of like the role you're meant to play in the world. And then you can have the gate. So it's that's why I was saying, like, from all the color of eyes that you could have, you have blue eyes.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I meant. Like, there will be no one who's exactly the same as you. You can have two people who were born on the same day, but they won't be exactly the same, because some aspect of your chart will always be different from someone else.
It's so cool. It's like a special fingerprint.
Yeah. Absolutely. So Kat asked in the question or in the chat box, what if you don't know your time of birth? Can you still pull a human design chart, or what do you do in that case?
Yeah. So what I do in that case is, first, if you know your if you know your date of birth, right? You don't have to know the specific time, but if you know the date, you will have your type, because the type is based on the day. So let's say that today, I don't know this, but let's say that today, all the kids that are born today are going to be manifesting generators. So if you know, okay, I was born on October 4th, then you know that you're going to be a manifesting generator. But then what does change with the specific time is either like, it could be your profile, or it could be the centers and things like that. So it is recommended that you get your specific time. But if you don't have that, then get like the closest thing that you have. So were you born in the morning or at night, or things like that. And you will find like there will be variations. So you have to know that there will be a few variations if you don't know your specific time. But that's what I do. Like, I get the date and the closest time.
Closest time.
Now,
Awesome.
where does the location of birth fall into human design? What does that influence have?
Yeah. So when it's similar to astrology, right? So remember how I was talking about the neutrinos, right? This is a very in-depth topic in human design, but the idea is that neutrinos are flowing all the time, everywhere. Like, everything that we see is kind of like how neutrinos impact the world, right? So imagine like it's this stream of wind, let's say, carrying dust from planets, right? So you have this planetary dust that then impacts the world. And so if, I don't know, like, that dust will be different where I am today than in a different city. That's kind of like the idea. So it will change that expression.
Wow. So interesting.
So interesting. We also have a question from Victoria, and she said she is a manifesting generator. And so often she feels that she always starts something and she moves from one thing to another, but it's quite nerve-wracking. Like, she can't focus on one thing to finish it. Is that something that is always true, or is there any advice? I'm adding this to her question. Is there any advice that you can give her to help her follow through, I guess?
Yeah. So first, this is very common with manifesting generators, because you're here to have very different interests and passions, and you are not really meant to stick to one thing. So this is where human design gets really amazing and really in-depth, because the whole thing is about how you are here to express the magic of being human, right? And it gives you this possibility of acting from who you are and not who you think you should be, or who you have been conditioned to think you should be. So manifesting generators often are conditioned to think that they need to stick to one thing. So they've been told all their lives that if they, I don't know, they don't, let's say they joined ballet, or they joined football growing up, or whatever, if they don't stick to that particular interest, there's something wrong, or they are flaky, or they can't commit. But for many gens, it's really about getting all that you can get from that interest, right? So if it's a book, reading it, getting everything that you can get from it until you're bored, and then allow yourself to move to the next thing, right? So it's not so much about completing things, it's about what did I learn from this particular thing, this experience, this interest, this passion, and how can I take the learnings from that into the next thing. And there will be kind of like this golden thread that will kind of weave things together. But you have to allow yourself to go into things that maybe don't make sense or that don't feel connected. Like, I don't know, today you can be very passionate about cooking, and tomorrow you're very passionate about psychology. And if you don't find a connection between those two right now, you have to allow yourself to be okay with that until you find it. Like, let's say, because you can always later in your life use some aspect of what you have learned from everything, right? From, if you were like, I don't know, in a corporate job, you can get things from that. You can get things from whatever interest you had previously. So allow yourself to be okay with not finishing, right? You're not meant to finish. It's okay if you don't finish things. Yeah.
Wow, that goes against like a lot of societal constructs that have been built for us. Like,
absolutely, like discipline, and you should, yeah, like the whole idea of you should be disciplined and stick to one thing. Even like with spirituality, if you think about it, like we're very conditioned to think like, oh, you should stick to the same meditation for years and years and years and years, because that's where you will find the depth of your spiritual path or whatever. But that doesn't work for many gens at all. Like they will, I don't know, get a few months into one spiritual practice and then move to the next one, and yeah, it you're always going to extract the magic from what you're doing, and you have to allow yourself to be okay with that.
wow. And
So I
that
have a
apply-
question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Heather.
I'm like, I have a question. Please let me get my question out. Okay.
Go.
So, okay. So I think that this like is bringing up the whole deconditioning process, right? So like when in spirituality, when we are moving through our, awakening, the, moving through ascension time, we're going through these processes that are, elevating our soul and our entire human experience into a different realm of possibilities. There is a period sometimes that is maybe painful or dark, or, you kind of go through the icks to get there. And I know that in human design, there's also a deconditioning process that it can experience or go through to become more like absorbing of your human design or expressing of your human design. Is that decompression process, that deconstruction, is it the same kind of icky, or is it like, could it be a really beautiful process or experience?
That's a very interesting question. I think this could be a bit different. I have found that in my experience when I was going through, because we're always deconditioning, but what the approach that I have is kind of like, I look at different aspects of my chart. So I don't know, I'm just gonna say this for the period of 3 months or whatever, I'm gonna focus on deconditioning my heart center or my sacral or things like that. So the first place that you should look at is your open centers, the ones that are in white, because this is where we absorb the conditioning from other people. So let's say you have your heart center open. The heart works with everything that has to do with discipline and motivation. So let's say you had a sister or a brother or whatever, and that person was really motivated. Like they could always get up at the same time, and they could always do, I don't know, they were very good at going to the gym every day and things like that. And you were always wondering, why am I not the same way? So you have that deconditioning process of accepting yourself and knowing like, oh, I'm not actually meant to do the same thing every single day and feel like I should be disciplined. I'm meant to like work on the things that I'm motivated to work on that moment, and then if I'm not motivated, that's okay, and I can find that motivation the next day. But I found that it's a bit more liberating than my own experience of that spiritual awakening. What I do remember when I first found out that I was a projector was kind of feeling this sense of resentment or frustration or anger kind of at generators because these are like they're more, right? They're the biggest part of the population. So the world is kind of built for generators or for manifestors. So I did go through that phase of like, why now I understand why I am the way that I am, but also how the world is really not built for me. How it doesn't have like my energetic needs into consideration, like in the way that we've been taught to work or conditioned to do life. It's very based on work hard and keep pushing yourself and stuff like that. So I did go through that phase of like kind of resentment for how the world was built, but then it was very liberating, very much more into, oh, now I know what I have to take into consideration. Like, oh, I can't actually eat the same way that a generator would, or I can't actually go to sleep at the same time, or I can't actually work in the same way. So I have to always have in mind that I'm not a generator, I'm a projector. So there's going to be things that are different, and it comes to like your own boundaries with yourself, because very likely no one is actually pushing you to stay as late as the generator, for example. It is you that doesn't know that you're a projector or that you are a reflector, and that you can't, or that if you do, it's not that you can't, if you do, you're probably going to resent it the next day, right? And you will feel like crap the next day. So you have to go through that phase of like understanding what it means for you in your life to be your type, or to have centers that you have open or defined, and go through that phase of, oh, this is why this happens, or this is how I feel when I am in this situation or with this type of people. So for me, it was a bit more liberating that my spiritual awakening, that was a bit more icky, or more like feeling like you're swimming through the mud, right?
Yeah, because that's one of the things that, as, working with you and like looking at my human design, it's fascinating to me about how, I don't know, frustrated I feel with the fact that the world is designed around generators. And as a projector, I'm like, what the hell, man? Um, but as we were discussing you and you coming on the show, we were talking about um how our two design types are different yet complementary, and how having other people support us in our businesses, in our life, are really like critical aspects of just living. And I tend to think about a time in my life when I was very busy doing a lot of things. Like, everybody says, oh, Heather lives such a big life. And it was because I was traveling all over the place, teaching, working, running businesses. I was just crushing life in a generator world. And I think back to those times and I'm almost a little bit resentful at how was I so effective and so successful and so all of the things back then, and I'm not those things now. And the reality is that that was not sustainable because it was in complete defiance of my actual design. But I know people who are projectors like me that are busy and successful and having big lives, but it's like because they've lived within their design and they use their design for their ultimate benefit, and they've deconstructed those patterns that have been placed on us from the world that we live in, and they play into that. They end up getting to live this big fabulous life, right? And so I think it's amazing that looking at this particular infrastructure that each one of us come in with can give you that freedom, maybe that breaking down of the systems that you've been brought up to live in could be really quite beautiful.
Hmm. And I think
Yeah.
even as a generator, learning more of like the different gates and channels and whatever that are applicable to me specifically was mind blowing. And I can see why, even though the world was built for generators, so to speak, why I was struggling, why there was strife or frustration, because even though I was a generator and this world should be for me, the way that I was conditioned to be successful, to live life, do the things, was going completely against my human design profile.
Yeah, absolutely. Like every single type has their own conditioning. So generators often find themselves thinking that they're manifestors and that they have to like go get things, like go get it done, or go make things happen, when actually they're not designed to do that. They're designed to flow with life and to use what life throws at them and respond to that, right? But then manifestors tend to think that they are generators, and projectors think that they are generators. So it's everyone has their own conditioning, and it's very much based on what we see in other people. So if my mom was a generator, right? So I was always thinking when I was growing up that there was something wrong with me because I didn't have as much energy as she did. So she could stay up all night, like reorganizing the kitchen, and I didn't. Like, I had to go to sleep. I had to go to bed. And it was always this thing like, oh, maybe I need vitamins, maybe I need this or that because I don't have enough energy, right? And when I understood that, oh, it's just that I'm a projector and she's a generator, and I'm not actually meant to do that, it felt liberating. But because that's what I saw, that's what I was conditioned, right? But if you are a manifestor and your parents are a generator, then you will have the same experience because, for example, manifestors are not here to have consistent energy as well. They're meant to like go get things started and then delegate to other people who have the energy to nourish that project or that business or whatever. But yeah, everyone has their own conditioning, or as we were speaking before about manifesting generators as well, like the thing that they believe that they should finish with things, that they should like stick to things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
It's
wild the
so
things you
it's
learn.
so wild. It's so wild. Like it's so funny. I'm my mind is just sitting here going, I get like all these things come up. And one of the things that I found really fascinating was I did my family's human design chart just to kind of take a peek and see what they were. And my husband is a generator, and my father is a generator, and my sister's a generator, but my mom's a projector. And
Mm.
what's super fascinating is that, you know, until I actually understood the importance of rest for projectors, like how critical, like that is a critical thing for projectors, like getting enough rest. And so, my mom tends to sleep a lot. And I could never understand it. She's been that way as long as I can remember. She's always required a large amount of sleep. And, I just always wondered, like, why does she sleep so much? Like, is she like depressed? Is she like lonely? Like, what is the deal? Right. And it's funny because like I think probably projectors probably take a lot of antidepressants because, why are they sleeping so much? Right. But the reality is that she just requires more sleep. And so I always wondered about that, like, gosh, that depression thing. I hope I don't get that from my mom, because she sleeps so much. And what's hilarious is that she kind of looked at me like, oh, Heather's such a know-it-all, right? Because I would openly give my opinions without being invited to give them. And so, knowing that about like projectors that, we have to wait for the invitation in order to give our valuable insight. Otherwise, it comes off as being a know-it-all, and they do require a lot of rest. And so my mom and I had this really wonderful, after my session with you, we had this really wonderful conversation about human design, and kind of, I pulled up her chart and I'm like, well, our charts are actually complete opposites.
Wow.
She's a 2-5 splenic projector, and I'm a 5-2 splenic projector. And so we're opposite in a lot of ways, but there were certain gates that were the same. And we were able to kind of talk about those, and we were able to talk about how, about her requirement for sleep, and like why she sees me as a know-it-all. And like we had this like new understanding of one another that was really just super delightful. So I think that, if you're curious about human design, hit up Alegria for her services. She does service the Spanish speaking community as her primary client base. However, she's created a new Instagram site, which we will link in the show notes for you guys, that is in English. And it doesn't have a lot of the content that she has in Spanish on her main site. I'll link it as well. So those of you who are bilingual, you can hit her up over there. But she does help both English and Spanish communities. So don't be shy to reach out. It's been a hugely like informative and like eye-opening experience. So yeah, I just wanted to plug that.
Yeah, I want to say to that
Yeah.
end as well that, I've looked at human design before and, learned a little bit, talked to other people about human design, and, been doing personal development since I was young. So, thinking about like, oh, sitting down with an expert or whatever, like, what am I really gonna learn? And I can honestly say, I like Heather was like, yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Wow, I didn't know that. No wonder that is hard for me. It was so extraordinarily amazing. So thank you for, fitting me in and stuff like that. And if you guys are listening to this conversation and you want to know more, definitely reach out through those links and book a session, because it's phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Thank you, guys. I just wanted to add that even like I have people that like my coach also knows a lot about human design, and I even know like use people who can read my chart and things like that, because I believe that having someone else telling you this is who you are, this is how things work for you, is so powerful, because it's so easy to not we can get kind of blurred vision when we try to look at ourselves and our business. And it's so powerful when someone else can reflect that to you and say, oh, this is what I see, or this is what I suggest based on your chart. And that you can have that space to talk about things like, for example, Jody Lane and I talked about like hiring people, because as a generator, she doesn't need to be doing things that she's not really excited about. So whenever you have that type of conversation with someone else, someone who can reflect a lot for you and who can see you more clearly, sometimes that you can see yourself, and we all need that, especially in business, especially when it comes to like making decisions or growing our business. It's so powerful to have that reflection. And yeah, it's really amazing for me to work with clients and to see how different everyone is and how their business is different. So what I do with clients is kind of look into their particular business and how we can weave their human design so that they feel more aligned, so that the way they build their business and their life feels more aligned. Because it's not about not only about reaching to the big fat life, that the fabulous life that Heather was talking about. It's about how you get there, how you build this, and that how can either feel very good or very, very stressful and misaligned. So that's the real power of human design. So yeah, whoever wants a reading or to look at their business in terms of their design, I'm here for it. I do have this new account in English. I am working on translating a few of the things that I have in Spanish, but my main business is in Spanish. But yeah, I'm totally open to work with both. So yeah, if that's something that resonates, totally send me a DM on Instagram. I'm here.
I think that, I just want to repeat something that you just said, and that is that the thing that human design can help with is it can make the road easier because you are in alignment, or you can continue down the hard, bumpy road. Because, and that really resonates with me, and especially where I'm at in my current cycle of life. I feel like I'm on the bumpy dirt road that's full of potholes sometimes. And, I, for one, am very excited and looking forward to working with you more and taking the easy road, because I'm all about that life. And, I really just cannot say enough good things about you. I'm truly impressed by you and the work that you do. And, you spent a tremendous amount of time with me, answering all of my ridiculous questions, and they just kept coming. And I probably have an entire notebook full of more questions for you. So, I just can't say enough good things about you. And I'm really, really happy that you came on our show today to talk about human design and, the wonderful gift that it is. And I think you're fabulous. So, we are coming to a close here. And, if you guys are enjoying this conversation, please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the show so that you don't miss an episode, hit that alarm bell. I think it tells you when we're actually live. So those are all key things to take away from today. And again, if you want to talk to Alegria, we will link all of her 2 Instagram accounts in the show notes. It takes us, a couple minutes after the show to get that uploaded for you. But it is truly life-changing. And Jody, I don't know what our episode is next week, but we'll be here again next week.
You bet we will. It'll be a surprise, so just tune in.
Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next week.